So I am going to be talking about Carl Silliano, who had all the intentions in the world to be here live, but is on book tour right now, and so schedules got wonky, and it didn't work out. But I still want to talk about Carl. I want to talk about Carl's work and Carl's new book. So Carl Siciliano is nationally recognized for being a lifelong advocate of LGBTQ young people experiencing homelessness. And so in 2002, um, he had been advocating for way before 2002, but in 2002, he founded the Ali Forney Center. It is in New York. Maybe some of you have heard of it. It has grown to become the nation's largest and most comprehensive housing program for LGBTQ young people experiencing homelessness. And it's our nation's largest, but I have recently just been blown away by the Ali Forney Center and learning about how many other centers across the country are looking to them for guidance. They're actually replicating all over the country. And not just in the US, they also have sites internationally that are looking towards them to replicate their work because it is truly phenomenal, everything they're able to wrap around these young people and support them with. Um, as a result of just like everything that he's done and all the work that the Ali Forney Center has been able to accomplish and all the amazing staff there. That work has been featured on NPR, CNN, The Daily Show. It's been in New York Magazine. And Carl Siciliano himself, he's a terrific storyteller, which is always good when you're an advocate. And he has had his work published in the Huff Post, The Advocate, and New York Times. And so he decided to put it all in a book. And so he has written and published a book that is about his journey around this work and about the making of the Ali Forney Center and a lot about Ali himself. And so I read the book. It was amazing. It was really just such a great thing to like sit with right now in this time because Carl's work spans decades before the Ali Forney Center started. And he talks a lot about the movement, the civil rights movement, how tough legislation was, how tough the policy landscape was, how the work was being done in grassroots movements because there was no federal or public funding. And it just like really resonated with me in these times. And I got a lot of hope and inspiration from listening to Carl. I also felt like it was very like I was almost honored to be learning about Ali in a very like sort of front seat sort of way and these stories that Carl used throughout the book to talk about Ali and the spirit Ali brought to all of the people around him. So I would love a few moments to go ahead and just play a sample of the book so people can get a feel for it. And also just want to note that if folks have an Audible account, it's free on Audible. Carl made it such by narrating it himself, so we can all appreciate that. He really wanted the work of this book to be accessible to folks. So let me go ahead and share, and we'll listen to a little sample.
3 years before he died, on November 30th of 1994. It was my first day as program director at Safe Space, a recently opened daytime drop-in center for homeless teens that provided food, medical care, support groups, and a range of other essential services. In the very early hours of that morning, Tupac Shakur had been shot 5 times in the lobby of a Times Square recording studio, only 2.5 blocks from Safe Space. Some of our clients who spent their nights out in the streets had witnessed the artist being carted into a wailing ambulance. During lunch, anxiety buzzed among the dozen dining room tables. Would Tupac survive? Was Sean Puffy Combs behind the attack? Could it have been Biggie Smalls? I had determined to spend my first few days immersing myself in the program's activities and meeting the young people in its care. After lunch, I went downstairs to the large community room. where 8 long tables were joined together in the shape of a Greek cross. I took my seat there, surrounded by a dozen kids ranging in age from their teens to early 20s, most of them Black and Latino, many decked out in bulky winter coats. I introduced myself and asked if they would speak to me about their experiences at Safe Space. What did they like? What could we improve? One young woman wasted no time in taking up my invitation. "This place sucks," she said, her voice shrill and electric with anger. "The staff don't care. None of you care about us. You're all just here for a paycheck. You talk down to us, you won't lift a finger to help us, and the food is shit. You don't care. None of you care." I looked around the room and saw some of the young people squirming in discomfort. Not wanting to respond defensively, I forced myself to remain calm and asked the young woman her name. "Tangi," she said. "Tangi, I'm so sorry to hear you've had such negative experiences at Safe Space," I said softly. "I'll see what I can do to make it better. But I'm curious, how long have you been coming here?" "Since 11:30. 11:30 today?" I asked. "Yeah, I came in for my intake just before lunch." It was a few minutes past 1 o'clock. I didn't know what Tangi had experienced in the 90 minutes she'd been with us, but it was hardly enough time to make an accurate assessment of Safe Space and the dedication of its staff. More likely, I was listening to the agony born of a lifetime of trauma. By then, I'd spent 12 years serving homeless people in soup kitchens, shelters, and residential facilities. I'd come to understand that entering their lives meant opening yourself to heartbreak, to people battered by poverty, abuse, mental illness, oppression, and the inevitable rage born of it all. It also meant looking past the surface and seeking to understand more of who they were. When I listened to Tangi without rebutting, it seemed to diffuse her anger. She sat attentively as other youths talked about Safe Space's medical care, food, showers, and laundry facilities. None were especially effusive, but they made it plain that we met some of their most urgent needs. Afterwards, reflecting on Tangi's eruption, I thought about how the hagiographies that led me to this work had not prepared me for its reality. As a teenager and a Catholic convert, I had immersed myself in the lives of the saints. Inspiration poured through me when I read of St. Martin of Tours cutting off half his cloak to give to a naked beggar, or St. Francis of Assisi physically embracing a rotting-fleshed leper.
So that's just a brief sample of the book, and I actually love Tangi's very short moment in the book. I really appreciate just one other note that Carl himself is a very spiritual person, and we heard from a speaker earlier that said that that emphasized faith is important, and we need to bring people into that space and to acknowledge the intersection of faith in this community. And so I think Carl does a really well in his book. So put a link in the chat, and if folks have an opportunity to check it out, I think that would be great. If nothing else, learn some more about the Ali Forney Center by visiting their website.
Thanks so much, Angela.